quick question. How many of you here, could you put your hands up if you've already got a pure electric vehicle? That would be useful to gauge who's in the room, okay? And also, just quickly, if your hands up, any of you heard of the Fully Charged show, or do you in fact watch it? Okay, a few people, okay, that's great. So it's fantastic to be here today. I mean, certainly from my point of view, if you've not heard of the Fully Charged show, I just give a quick introduction. The best way to do that is to show you what we do for a living.
What a time to be alive. This is it. While the distractions grow louder, the biggest story of our lives is appearing all around us, a revolution in real time. The extraordinary switch from combustion to cleaner, greener, superior technologies. Over the coming few years, our toxic relationship with fossil fuel is coming to a close. It's now time to stop burning stuff. The Fully Charged show has immersed itself in clean energy and electric vehicles of all shapes and sizes since 2010. From wind to solar to batteries, from Tesla to Rivian to Ford to GM to the Asian invasion of electric vehicles, the Fully Charged show covers it all. With its network of trusted correspondents in world-leading territories like North America, the UK, Europe and Asia, the Fully Charged show is the independent, positive voice of its time. Having amassed a sizable YouTube following around the world, and with polished production on a pirate radio budget, it's time for clean energy and electric transportation to go mainstream.
So the energy transition away from the combustion engine, away from combustion, is set to be a century-defining revolution. I have 15 minutes or so to explain it, or at least part of it. Who will win and lose the electric car race? Fully Charged was founded by Robert Llewellyn from Red Dwarf and Scrap Heap Challenge fame. And those of us that work on the show are fortunate to have behind-the-scenes access to a sector in huge flux. Due to our exposure to millions of them, we're lucky to understand existing and prospective EV owners better than almost anyone. Innovators have an inherent advantage, of course, over existing organizations. They have a blank sheet of paper, clear, unconflicted objectives, and whether it's vehicle to grid or solar-covered cars or faster and faster charging, the energy transition still has many surprises in store. But when it comes to electric cars themselves, the current crop of EVs are already an attractive proposition. In fact, with a whole host of 200 to 300 mile range EVs on the market, the most impactful innovations ahead are likely to be lower cost and higher availability. And that's where the legacy car makers have a huge problem. They simply can't compete with their new clean slate competitors, and their business model will be disrupted. If the last decade has belonged to Tesla, it's almost certain that the next will belong to China. Now I can see Tesla over there. That's not to say Tesla's explosive growth is over, far from it. They're expected to make around 2 million cars in 2023 and will likely reach 10 million a year by 2030. That's equivalent to a staggering 20% of the global car market. However, Tesla is limited by capacity. Sales of the Model Y and Model 3 have been so successful that they have had to deprioritize Model X and Model S and delay the likes of the Cybertruck and the semi-truck. This is absolutely the right strategy, of course, but it does prevent them from manufacturing the long-awaited $25,000 EV for the masses, and that's where China comes in. Nature abhors a vacuum, and the electric car offerings from the old guard have to a degree been premium EVs, SUVs, and premium SUVs, and we can testify from the engagement that they get and the viewing figures on our channel that it's the smaller, cheaper cars that are garnering all the attention. BYD are one of the 400 Chinese car makers vying for the Chinese market. Yes, 400 Chinese car makers will, of course, consolidate into much fewer. But it is the world's biggest car market. And these companies like BYD are eyeing the major markets in Europe, the US, and beyond. The killer advantage for Chinese car makers is when it comes to mass manufacturing, they can scale far faster than anyone else. What's more, having driven a handful of Chinese-made cars, don't be deceived. These are very well-made, tech-laden cars. The size of the Chinese market's ambition is clear. The manifold growth in their shipbuilding industry being the most visible sign of that. They have, after decades of planning, put themselves at the heart of the supply chain, whether it's battery minerals, whether it's rare earth materials, manufacturing, chips, or even the ability to build ships more quickly than everyone else. They are in the perfect position. We have filmed with BYD, NIO, Geely, XPeng, Great Wall Motor, and many more, and you can expect an Asian invasion of cheaper EVs in 2023, 2024, and 2025. We know because we talk to these companies, and we know that UK and Ireland is certainly on their roadmap. The biggest barrier to success for Chinese is not technological, but psychological, and relates to the broader negative political perception of China. But consumer behavior is skin deep at best, and while the brands might not be, all the cars pictured here are made in China. Okay, less so BMW, but I will lay a wager that more of the legacy OEMs will be bought by Chinese businesses in the not too distant future. BMW already have interests in China, as do Toyota and many others. On his fantastic channel, EV Review Island, Derek reviewed the MG4 recently, and that car built by SAIC Motors is streets ahead of VW's ID3 and £10,000 cheaper too. I had the pleasure of driving an MG4 the other day, and I was shocked at the quality of the car inside and out. It really is extremely competitive. Beyond China, we believe that the Korean challenger brands of Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis also stand to gain from the move to electrification. They've told us they see this as the moment to go from being follower to leader. And there are some brand new brands worth watching too, not least the likes of Rivian and Fisker in the US, Sono and Ego in Europe, and even dark horses like VinFast in Vietnam. Truth be told though, if Tesla, China, and the younger brands account for 40% or so of the car market in 2030, that is a sizable share, a share that has to come from elsewhere. So who will be the losers? I will give an honourable mention to General Motors, but most at risk, in our belief, are the German and Japanese brands. It still seems fanciful to suggest it, I know, but we believe some might not make it. Others will suffer severe shrinkage, and some of the brands will be bought and sold for parts. We don't have time to pick through all of the OEMs one by one, but Toyota's recent epiphany seems like it might be a little too late. To actually want to sell the car is one thing, but to make it and have the battery supply chain geared up and ready to go takes time, and we think they might have literally missed the boat. Love or loathe Toyota's self-charging hybrid tagline. I don't know if you have that in Ireland as well. This would be a tragedy with far-reaching consequences. It would devastate Toyota's Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 suppliers, and perhaps even cause an economic earthquake in Japan. And then what of its dealerships around the world? Here in Ireland, consumers will benefit from a better and better choice of electric vehicles. I remember when we started to launch our events, Fully Charged Live, in the UK, I think in 2018, I had about 6 vehicles to get together: the I-Pace, the Nissan Leaf, Model S, Model X, the Zoe, I think the i3. I think that was pretty much the size of it now. I have a wall back in my office of electric cars with about 200 different electric cars on it. That shows the rate of change we've already seen. And actually, we believe from statistics there'll be more like 500 pure electric vehicles by 2025 on the market globally. So you're going to get a better and better choice. It will come, but actually it's the co-benefits of electric vehicles that excite us at Fully Charged most. Time and time again, we see the same thing. Electric vehicle ownership does something to people. It gets them to see energy in a totally different light and start thinking about things they've totally taken for granted in the past. Efficiency, cleaner energy, solar, batteries, and the electrification of heat too. And beyond that, we think there are bigger and better things to come. Traditionally, there's been some serious naysaying about two of the technologies that we believe will have the most profound impact of all. It's easy to dismiss solar electric cars, and yes, perhaps the jury is out on brands like Sono and Lightyear, but we think the next generation of cars will have some genuine self-charging capability, if not as standard, as an optional extra. If that technology doesn't terrify the oil and gas industry, then vehicle-to-home technology should. Hands up if you would like the ability to store cheaper electrons and use them when electricity is at its most expensive, be more energy independent, and give greater flexibility to the grid. In short, when it comes to oil and gas, there is bigger and bigger volatility ahead. Electrification is the industry to be in, so it's great that you're in the room at this early stage. Your role in getting people to switch will be an incredibly important one. There is a really exciting future ahead. We just have to help people envision it.
Electricity can go into the car from your solar panels, from the grid, from wherever, charge the car. But it can also go the other way, can come out of the car and into the house or into the grid. So you can run your house on your car, and you can run your car from your house. It goes both ways, and you can run the grid from the car, and you can run the car from the grid. It goes both ways.
So thank you very much for listening to me today. I'll be hanging around for questions. If you want to keep current on anything relating to electrification, please subscribe to the Fully Charged Show and EV Review Island, of course. They're the perfect match. And if you have been today, thank you for listening.